The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to the Timeline of Phoenix Suns podcast. My name is Mike, here with Sam. Sam, how's
Mike,
it going?
It's time. It's time. Amanda.
It's time, Amanda.
Mike, whatever your name is listening at home, all of you, it's time. It was time for the Phoenix Suns today. We are literally recording this 10 minutes after the Suns took down the Minnesota Timberwolves in game number 82 of the regular season. A great blowout. Yeah, I think it's fair to say it was a blowout win.
Yeah, basically,
where the Wolves lost by 19. They cleared the bench. That means it was a blowout win.
Mm-hmm. With 4 minutes left in the game, yeah.
Fantastic win for the Suns today. And even more important, the number of games that we had to watch that were all occurring at the exact same time to figure out exactly what their situation would be. It seems to have all worked in our favor, Mike, for basically the ideal situation for the Suns in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I would say it did. I think the NBA overall did a really good and interesting thing at the end of this season, especially for content creators like us, in that no games yesterday. We're recording this immediately after that game. No games yesterday, and then every team played today at the same time, basically, or all the games ended by the same time, early enough that we could get on the mic and record. So a really hectic, kind of frantic basketball watching day where I was checking the scores of one game and then sort of keeping an eyeball on a few others just to see where things ended up in the playoff race. And yeah, the Suns won. They handled that game pretty well, beginning to end, played extremely well, especially because of that first quarter start. And then thank God for LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers, who came through and beat the New Orleans Pelicans.
Never thought you'd say that, did you?
I know.
Thank God for the Los Angeles Lakers.
I know. Gifting the Suns the 6th seed, not to mention all the hard work. There was a question, Sam, a few weeks ago from a voicemail that asked us about the final 10 games of the season, playoff teams in every game for the final 10 games of the season. And they asked, what would it take for you guys to believe in the Suns as a contender? What record would it take for the Suns to play through those 10 games, for you to believe in them as a contender after everything else that we've seen throughout the season? Do you remember that?
Is this the part where you're going to ask me to remember what I said?
Yeah. No, I think you said 7-3.
I think I said 7-3. Yeah. It was only 3 weeks ago, so I should remember this, right? I think I said 7-3.
Mm-hmm. I think I said 7-3 or 8-2 is what I said. Yeah.
I think I was expecting 5-5 or worse, because the vibes were in the gutter at that point. And honestly, you look at some of the lows throughout this 10-game stretch, and the vibes have been back in the gutter a couple of times, even during the 10-game stretch. Look at, case in point, the OKC loss without Shea.
Yeah.
But, I think understanding, 5-5 or worse was probably what I was expecting. 6-4, okay, you kind of took care of business, but not really. 7-3 or better is where you start to believe really in their ability to consistently beat other playoff teams to the point where they could win at least a playoff series or two, make a deep run.
Yeah.
And I think we're there. I think they're still frustratingly inconsistent. And
there's reasons to have hope now. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're frustratingly inconsistent, and I think what I said a few days ago on a pod, I would maybe stand by it, that it would not surprise me, say they go into the series against the Timberwolves, would not surprise me if the Suns won this series in 7 games, having won 4 close games, and being blown out in 3. Still would not surprise me if any series ended for them that way. I think we're lucky. We're really lucky, and obviously you guys, we'll give you a detailed Timberwolves preview that'll come out in a few days. We need a little bit more time to research everything specifically. We'll talk about it in more generalities today. I think for a lot of reasons it's a great matchup for us. It's definitely the matchup we preferred over either the Oklahoma City Thunder, who more often than not have run us out of the gym this year, or the Denver Nuggets, who beat us last year. But it's still not going to be easy no matter what.
The last 7 games in particular were sort of a microcosm of what the Suns season was as a whole, in that they won more games than they lost, step one, and the losses were like more emotionally impactful because of how embarrassing some of the losses were, until, if I may say, they stole that Sacramento Kings game, which I think was sort of we're calling it the Bielessance. I think you tweeted, and I've seen some people mention that. Maybe I'll play back, Discord or on Twitter. Yeah, until Bradley Beal kind of sealed that game. And I think for Suns fans as a whole, and I think for anyone who wants to believe in this Suns team, they needed Bradley Beal to be a star, because the other two guys, as good as they've been in Kevin Durant and Devin Booker on the season, if you look at their season stats, they have lots of great stats, but their consistency isn't quite there, and the players beyond the big three are what they are. They're just role players and a lot of minimum guys. So in order for the Suns to be at their best, they have to have 3 stars playing like 3 stars. And at times, Bradley Beal was playing more like a role player, and in the last 2 games, at the very least, an absolute star. He carried them to that victory in Sacramento, where they shouldn't have won that game. Like, really, they should not have won that game.
They shouldn't have.
And then in this game in Minnesota, anytime he was on the court, they were just blasting the Wolves, just
but you know what?
blowing them out of the water.
We've talked about Bradley Beal in a bunch of different contexts this year. So we've talked about him kind of like, at first, he sort of took some more time on the ball, and then he took some more time off the ball, and there's been kind of different phases of it. You talk about him needing to play like a star. Even in the past couple of games, what's been kind of interesting about Brad is, yes, he's playing like a star. He's also playing like a star role player, though. He's playing like a star in his role. In that Sacramento game, 34 minutes, shot 9 of 13 from the field, 20 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, really making his impact felt on the glass and on the defensive end, especially with, of course, what's going to remain in everyone's minds is the game-saving or the game-winning defensive play that he had. But, like, that's like a good Mikal Bridges game if you think back to the 2021 Suns or something that went to the finals, or, like, he's not playing necessarily like a traditional star in order to have this star-level impact. Then you go to a game like today. What's interesting about Brad, obviously when he gets on a heater, he gets a few more opportunities to, ISO and kind of dazzle with the
create.
Create. But it's still not his go-to mode in this team's offense, nor should it be. Even tonight, he did take 21 shots, but he was also just perfect, 100%, 6 for 6 from 3, knocking down, swishing absolutely everything, every time the ball touched his hands. So he's been tremendous. I think a lot of the good, positive vibes are just radiating from watching him talk after the games too. Like, people really just enjoy watching him talk to Amanda, and he has such a presence about him. I've always felt this way about Brad. I feel like we mentioned this when Brad first came to the Suns, the way that he just reacts to the media, reacts to maybe not the fans, but especially reacts to the media differently with his energy that he brings versus what Book or KD bring in those same opportunities. And like in the post-game interview tonight with Amanda, Brad comes off, he's had 36 points, and just a row of Suns players come off the bench to basically harass him all on their way to the tunnel. It's Royce O'Neal harassed Brad, Thad harassed Brad, Josh Okogie, Damian Lee spilled water on him, then Yusuf Nurkic put a towel on his head. It's like one after another. These guys were just clowning on him out of love and respect, obviously, and like, you love to see it. Like, the vibes are finally rekindled for this team in a way that we haven't seen in a little bit, and just so much of that is thanks to Brad Beal.
The concept of leadership has been talked about a lot with this team, and I struggle to do that sometimes. As you know, we talked about it a little bit on the Patreon podcast. I find it hard to have that conversation sometimes because there's just certain things that we see as fans, and then there's so much that we don't see, so it's really difficult to put on paper like what the leadership hierarchy of this team is, or any NBA team. But the one thing that you can do as a leader that everyone sees is leading by example. And that often means taking really important moments really seriously and coming through in those big moments. And I think for Brad, to see him have those big moments in the Sacramento Kings game and then another really great game against the Minnesota Timberwolves in these last two games, and then also kind of show that emotion out on the floor and in the post-game interviews, to me, that's a form of leadership. Maybe it's not even on purpose. It's just sort of infectious. And it's nice to see him do that kind of thing. I know David, when you were out sick or something, Sam, I forget where you were.
Yeah,
and David came on and filled in. He brought up the concept of maybe Brad Beal could be that leader. And it was, at the time, I think it was kind of wish casting, and we were hoping for it, right? Because we didn't know, and also we hadn't seen much of him because that was like January. And I think that's kind of coming into fruition a little bit, at least on the court. The stuff that we're seeing, not to mention, just as you talked about, like the fact that he's not trying to ISO and cook all the time. The fact that sometimes when he has a big on him, he pulls him out of the basket and he tries to find somebody else. He does that under the basket Steve Nash dribble.
He Nash dribbles all the time. I mean, he is not taking many shots. This was his first 30-point game in... Well, actually, he may have had another 30-point game recently against, I want to say, like the Pelicans or something. But it's not normal for Brad Beal, the way he's been playing. Post-All-Star break, we know he's averaging 17, 18 points per game post-All-Star break. That's been closer to the player that he is.
And then strategically, now the NBA's website has not updated to include the last game. So I'm looking at the previous 9 games stats. Touches for the Suns, the previous 9 games, and then I think you can kind of picture what this game looked like against the Timberwolves to add to this point. Leading the team in touches, Devin Booker, 74. Number 2, Bradley Beal, 70. And then number 3, Kevin Durant with 66. And I think this is something that I've found really interesting when I think their offense is like sort of peaking with the highest level of efficiency and ball movement. And it often just means starting the play with Devin Booker or Bradley Beal, and then the ball finds its way to Kevin Durant, and then the defense often panics when it's not starting with Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and then this KD is not to say has that you the can't opportunity. Yeah. But KD has the opportunity to force the defense into even more of a frenzy or a panic, and oftentimes with 0 dribbles or just 1 dribble, he can kill them, which is much different from, I think you were getting here, starting a play with Kevin Durant, the defense throws 2 to the ball, and then you're done. It's a turnover.
It's a turnover.
Because KD,
sometimes it's a
all
score,
season long
sometimes it's a 3.
Sure, but all season long we've seen that KD has been the guy of the 3 who struggles most reacting to defenses that play him that way, and especially post-All-Star break, we know that defenses are just allowed to be way more physical on everyone, but especially KD, he gets hacked all the time, and it's just hard to play through that. The Suns have found their counters to it. And maybe it means that KD plays, a little bit less of a role in some games. I still think he's going to get his 15, 16, 17, sometimes more shots basically every night. But the plays just aren't always going to start with him, 18 feet out at the elbow or extended to the 3-point line.
And what we're talking about really here is just a minor change, right? It's not like you're taking 50 touches away from Kevin Durant. It's just tilting the scales a little bit more towards the guards who are more comfortable with the ball in their hands, less likely to turn it over, often better at finding guys with assists, at the very least, on the move. Kevin Durant, still a very good passer. I also think there's a little bit of a Nurkic problem with KD sometimes, in that the way that Nurkic likes to play with the dribble handoffs and with the handoff and the screen at once, it makes it a little easier to throw 2 guys at Kevin Durant in the way that frustrates him, because Kevin Durant likes to catch it and then sort of read the floor for a second and then move. Whereas like Brad, for example, will just sprint around at full speed and get, 1 foot downhill before the defense even has a chance to react. And so like that, mix of those 2 players, maybe not the best way to maximize Kevin Durant on those handoffs too. So it's really just trying to find a way for the offense as a whole to maximize the team as a whole. And in some ways that might mean the offense shifting over to those other guys. And obviously in individual game scenarios, if something's working with Kevin Durant, go to that 1,000 times. If something's working with Devin Booker, go to that 1,000 times, or whatever it takes to win the game. Now that we're getting to the playoffs,
and just
do whatever it takes. But
until
for
a
now,
defense
this is
can
working.
stop it, right? You find this is the advantage of having so many weapons on your offense is you find a hot hand and then you keep going to the hot hand until the defense can stop it, and then you react. But like, don't go away from a guy who has it too early.
Listen, life's all about leveling up. Whether you're handling business on the field or kicking it in your zone, you like to celebrate with cigars that match the moment. That's why you should link up with Famous Cigars to bring you a wild deal. Right now, you can grab 8 premium cigars for just $8. You heard that right. 8 top-rated cigars at $1 a stick. Top quality brands like Oliva, Romeo y Julieta, and Davidoff. Handpicked just for you and worth over $80. Hit up famouscigars.com/cam and lock in this exclusive deal. While you're there, check out their insane selection of premium cigars, all shipped fresh and fast from their massive 20,000 square foot humidor. That's half a football field. Famous Cigars has been in the game since 1939 and still family owned. So celebrate every win with the folks at Famous. 8 cigars for $8. famouscigars.com/cam.
Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
It's such a relief to see them finally starting to figure this out. And by contrast, I don't know how much do you want to talk about the Minnesota matchup right now, or should we wait?
I think we should wait. We can do a little bit of initial first reactions, but yeah.
Initial first reaction. Should we do, how about this? I am just going to pull up the standings because I honestly don't even remember where everyone is. I remember where we are, but I need to get my bearings. So we've known Clippers, Mavs. Can I just gauge your anticipation, excitement level for each series?
I wanted to do this
so
anyway.
Far? Okay.
Because can I just first say, the first round in the West is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
just
no,
in general,
like
it's seriously going to be awesome. There's
honestly,
many good series.
I think the East is going to be good too, except for whoever Boston plays, that they'll just trounce.
Yeah,
unless if Boston
People
if Boston ends up playing either Philly or Miami, which I guess they probably will here, either of those could be kind of decent first round series. So you know what, we might be looking at a pretty good first round overall for the NBA here. But okay, West. Let's start with the one we've known about for the longest. So Clippers, Mavs, 4-5. Any opinion?
Awesome. I mean, I hope Kawhi is healthy. What's cool is it's one of those series I think that has a combination of like two teams that are kind of in some ways built to play against each other, and also there is some history there in that the Mavs have played against the Clippers in the recent past and either struggled with them or played really well against them. The most important thing, of course, if to make it a fascinating series is if Kawhi Leonard is healthy. Now we have Kawhi Leonard, often thought of as one of the best players in the NBA when he plays, playing against Luka Doncic, who, I mean, I hate to say it to Suns fans who maybe are tired of hearing it, but since the All-Star break, I think he might be the best player in the NBA since the All-Star break.
Should we have a tired MVP conversation right now? Do you care?
He's not going to win, right? It's Jokic, right?
He shouldn't win. Well, I think it's just funny that we have to choose between like the two greatest Suns villains right now. It's like who should get MVP, villain number 1 or villain number 2? I'd rather give it to Jokic.
Being a Suns fan, man, we have Tim Duncan and Michael Jordan on the other side of a lot of rivalries as well, and Kobe Bryant. Yeah. So that's what it is. But yeah,
I'm just gonna say
he's been incredible. So
I'm just gonna say this in the perhaps still unlikely event, but God damn it, let's maybe wish it into existence that the Suns, a 6th seed now, can make the Western Conference Finals. If they made the Western Conference Finals, I am relieved that the Dallas Mavericks are on the entirely opposite side of the Western Conference bracket from us.
Yeah.
In other words, we would not play them unless both of these teams somehow made the Western Conference Finals.
Unless we have to be
very unlikely. Very unlikely.
We have to be the team that stops Luka Doncic from making the finals. That sounds really stressful. Yeah. I think overall that series is going to be fascinating. The Mavs defense, if anyone has been paying attention, has like ratcheted up to a level that I didn't think they were capable of doing for the last 10 or 15 games or so. Just not letting anyone score anything at the rim. There was a certain 7-game stretch I was looking at when I was checking Sun stats where opponents were shooting 45% at the rim against the Mavs. For any more than like one game, that's a crazy stat. And for 7 games, that's absurd. And then on the other side of that, you have a Clippers team that, if everything clicks, can kind of beat anyone, but it often doesn't. And I think it's really going to be, it's kind of similar to, the Clippers and the Suns are kind of similar in that you really don't know what's going to happen. You really don't know what's going to happen when they play. You know what it could look like when it goes well. Yeah. You know what it could look like when it goes badly. And, flip a coin. It could be either one of those things for the Clippers.
Yep. Absolutely. From there, the only other things to talk about before we get to the Wolves, obviously, we don't know the results of the play-in. So I guess just if you could pick out of these 4 teams, the Pelicans, the Lakers, this is an order, Pelicans 7, Lakers 8, Kings 9, Warriors 10. And then for the Thunder and Nuggets, who are 1 and 2. Do you have any preferred matchups?
I think Lakers,
either as
Thunder,
a biased
Warriors,
Suns fan or an unbiased NBA fan, you could choose.
Is Lakers versus Thunder, that's my first initial thought. And then I think Nuggets versus Warriors is the most interesting. Is that something that can even work out that way? No, it's not, because the Warriors...
Could the Nuggets play the Warriors?
I don't think so.
No, it could not happen because the Nuggets are 2. So the Nuggets will only play 7. So the Nuggets will have to play the Pelicans or
either
the Lakers.
The Pelicans or the Lakers.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh. What's more interesting there? I think it might be the Lakers still. It's all about Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis left the game, went to the locker room towards the end of this Pelicans game. So if he's healthy, then that's really interesting. If Anthony Davis isn't healthy, then take the Lakers out of it entirely. I mean, even though they can still win a single play-in game, which is all it takes when you're the 8th seed, I don't know that makes them interesting in any way. So I guess there's a world where Pelicans Nuggets is interesting, but I honestly feel like that's a 5-game series.
I'm not at all sure how the Pelicans have played the Nuggets in their season series this year, but on paper that feels like a matchup that they're designed to, that they could handle business, not necessarily win, but it feels like they could give the Nuggets a series, right? Just on paper, those two teams match up. They wouldn't have issues with Jokic's size, but I'm really not sure how they've played. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah,
right now.
And the Thunder, do you have thoughts?
My Suns related thoughts are that thank fuck we're not playing them. Just because they're
what a season.
So I know the vibes are good right now for the Suns, obviously, but there's been something about the Thunder where every time they enter our gym or we enter theirs, they just run us out of the building. Yeah. And I would be very afraid of being in a series like that. I think what's interesting about the Suns right now is that, and kind of what's plaguing them all season, when a game starts out well, this comes back to talking about leadership again. When a game starts out well, we have multiple options offensively. The ball is free-flowing. Guys are getting easy shots.
Yeah.
They were having more of a fourth quarter issue for 3/4 of the season, but that's kind of dissipated now. Like when they start out games well, now it's kind of starting to feel like the tide's turning, like the Suns can handle their business maybe a little bit in the fourth quarter. They've had some good fourth quarters recently.
Yeah,
like maybe they can take that energy, build that positive momentum, and sustain it throughout a game. Should we trust the more limited sample size since the All-Star break that says, hey, maybe the Suns are a decent fourth quarter team? I don't know. I hope so, but it's a smaller sample size. But it's the games where the Suns really have to battle through the adversity where the other team throws the first punch that worry me the most. That I think was what was particularly characteristic of like the first Clippers game recently. It's like if you're just not finding your spots early on in the offense and not matching, in particular, the physicality of the other team, then you don't stand a chance. And that's where we've talked about in the past. It really helps to have the Jay Crowder-esque players in a way that the Suns just kind of don't. So the vibes need to already be starting from a pretty good place that we can sustain and not be starting with us down in a 15-0 hole because it's really hard to climb out of that with the leaders that the Suns have.
So is it, just back on the Western Conference playoffs quickly, is the best option healthy Lakers versus the Nuggets and then Pelicans versus the Thunder? Is that not the most interesting? Just get the Kings and Warriors out of there.
Healthy Lakers versus Nuggets. And what'd you say? Pelicans versus
Pelicans
Thunder?
versus, just leave the 7 and 8 in, basically. Swap who they'd play if it was no play-in tournament.
Well, what's interesting? What's interesting about that? Healthy Lakers, sure. But if the Lakers aren't healthy, or even if they are, you don't want to ignore the fact it's hard with the Kings because the Kings are a good story, but they lost a lot of depth between Monk and Herter, and they're probably just not good enough. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Golden State is actually going on a run again. They've won 8 of their last 10. They could give anyone a series, especially the Thunder. You don't think Golden State could give OKC a run, a little bit of a scare? In a first-round series?
It's definitely. You just never know with the Warriors. You just never know. You can't fully count them out because they have Steph Curry and look, if Klay Thompson is only good for 4 games out of a series, that's all it takes. And or Andrew Wiggins, you can add that, or Draymond, you can kind of add that tag to all of their guys, where they're maybe not good all the time anymore, but if they put it together for enough to win a series, then you can win a series.
These are some awesome matchups. Just getting a look at it now, and hats off. Adam Silver and the screenwriters really did a great job scripting this.
Can
together.
we just quickly talk about the East too? I know that this is
sure, yeah.
way
off
of
thought about that. The usual
Bucks
scope of this podcast.
This one to me, this one to me is just more boring in general. Bucks versus Pacers. That's one of the set matchups, and the other one is Cavs versus Magic. Those are the set matchups in the East. Both of them are boring to me.
You don't like,
admittedly,
you don't like the. I mean, dude, if
the
Tyrese
in-season tournament rivalry,
if Tyrese Halliburton knocks off Giannis and the Bucks,
it would be awesome. You're
which
right.
could totally happen.
Awesome.
You don't think that would be awesome? It would be so much
that
fun.
would be awesome.
And honestly, same goes for the
faith.
Magic. Like, everyone just wants the Magic to succeed. That's what's cool about the East, is that you've got these 2 young teams in the Pacers and the Magic that I think everyone's just rooting for. And even other good teams, like maybe not everyone feels this way. I root for the Knicks. I root for Jalen Brunson. Like, I know they're the second seed, but I would love to see them make another run. So I'm just kind of rooting for everyone in the East except for Doc Rivers. Specifically, I've got nothing against. I've got nothing against. I've got nothing against the players on the Bucks, but I'm rooting against Doc Rivers and then the Boston Celtics as a whole. There you go.
I feel like the Cavs are like an injured animal right now, just waiting to be put down. They had such a good stretch there, and then they just got a bunch of injuries, and they've just been bad for a while. And look, maybe they'll pull it together and beat the Magic, which is an accomplishment in that the Magic, as much as your brain probably thinks that they're not that good, have been pretty good this year. They went all the way up to the 3 seed for a while there. And I think the Magic are probably going to win that series, but that's one of those ones that's really hard to figure out. Who do you think has the best chance against the Celtics? 76ers, Heat, Bulls, Hawks. So it'd be 76ers, or it could be any of those teams, actually.
Probably the Sixers.
Sixers or Heat, I think, right?
Which is so weird to say.
Yeah.
Also, if by some miracle the Hawks or the Bulls crawl into that 8th seed, they would have to beat the loser of Sixers Heat. Then that first round matchup of whichever team wins there versus the Celtics, they're getting stomped in. It's going to be like LeBron James, prime LeBron on the Heat versus who were some of the teams that LeBron was playing in
Toronto was the team that he kept beating over and over and over again.
Toronto he kept beating over and over, but do you remember that one year? Was it when they played the Bucks? Ironically, I think it was the Bucks, and Brandon Jennings was like Bucks and 6 or something. Do you remember this?
That's right. Yes, I do.
Was it Brandon Jennings or was it
classic
Monte
Reddit
Ellis?
meme? Yeah,
it was one of them. And they got stomped 4 games, 25-point margin in each game. That will be what happens if the Bulls or the Hawks end up playing the Celtics in the first round, which I kind of want to see.
Is there a preferred matchup against the Knicks out of the Heat or 76ers that you'd want to see?
Out of the Heat or 76ers? Knicks versus Heat.
It's going to be one of those 2 teams. Yeah.
Knicks versus Heat to bring back the classic rivalry sounds kind of fun. Bring back the 90s, the 90s flair. Dude,
I mean, that's the
I'm
best case scenario there. Yeah, is Heat versus Knicks and then 76ers versus Celtics.
We're
That's
putting
the best
out
case.
all these names right now. It's like NBA playoffs. We're back, baby. Like the script writers did a great job. These are great matchups on both sides of the aisle. All right, let's talk Suns Wolves. And I think this will be a short episode. You know, we can just kind of give our general ideas here, and then we'll do some more research and come back at you guys in a couple of days.
Yeah,
but I started off at the beginning of the episode. This was the ideal, right? This is what you wanted to happen, and probably 3 or 4 hours ago, we both felt wasn't that likely of happening because so many things had to go right. But this is what you wanted to happen, correct?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it how long? Like a month ago? Just the idea of could the Suns get the 6th seed and the Timberwolves, now that Karl Anthony Towns is injured, fall to the 3rd seed, and then the Suns have the best case of playing a injured Timberwolves team, and that is sort of happening. Karl Anthony Towns, to be fair, miraculously, in my mind, came back from an injury incredibly quickly. Didn't quite look like himself in this game, but he's got time to get back into it. If you all remember, when the Suns were playing the Bucks in the NBA Finals, Giannis was injured going into that and looked fine by game 3.
I'm sorry. Are you deciding to be nice to Karl Anthony Towns now? You said didn't look quite up to his standards in this game or something like that? Is that what you said?
He's been good. He's been good this year. I'll say it over and over again.
Just admit it. You hate... Okay, folks. Mike hates Karl Anthony Towns. Is it safe to say, like, who's your least favorite all-star in the NBA? Is it Karl Anthony Towns? Your least favorite multi-time all-star?
That's interesting.
It's probably him.
Yeah, it might be, yeah.
Every time we talk about him, we've done this podcast for 6 years, dude. I know you. Every time we talk about him, you're like, he's food. He can't guard the perimeter. Run Cam Johnson around screens. He can't guard us. And now it's great. It's great for that reason, right? Because we're going into a series against them. But it's just funny that now you're like, oh, Karl Anthony Towns didn't quite look like himself in this game. Admit that you hate him. We know you hate him.
Well, defensively, he's going to be a problem no matter what. Offensively, he can play a lot better than he played today. And I think that's what you have to think about going into this, in that it's just not quite what it's going to look like. It can look different. If he's out there shooting like 10 threes a game, it's going to be a different game. In this game, he shot, 3?
Yeah.
And just couldn't really find other ways to score.
Timberwolves only took 26 three-point attempts in this game. That's low. That's really low.
Yeah, my initial reaction is this is the best case for the Suns. I mean, that is true. I think that's just motivated by the trouncing OKC games that you mentioned earlier, and then the built-in trauma that comes with the Denver Nuggets at this point. Although the Suns have played the Nuggets well this season, we have learned a lesson in the past, of course, in that, what did the Suns beat the Mavs 11 times in a row in the regular season or whatever? Into that.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. So look, we've gone 3-0 against the Timberwolves this season. We've played them really well. I'm well aware of the lessons learned from the Dallas Mavericks. I'm not saying that this makes us even the favorite in this series at all. It's just that of the 3 teams that you could have drawn, this is the best scenario. But no, I absolutely am capable of processing a lesson, a hard learned lesson from the Dallas Mavericks, which is that you don't underrate a team in a playoff series just because you beat them a bunch of times in the regular season. It's a different animal. Anthony Edwards has really struggled against the Suns in the regular season. I just tweeted about it. You just retweeted it. He had 43 points in 3 games on not great efficiency. In this game, he had a million turnovers. A lot of them were because the Suns were in the right place and they were rotating really well, and hats off, props to the Suns for playing better defense. But also, a lot of their turnovers tonight were weird, unforced errors that it's just like, I don't know if that's the Timberwolves team that shows up at the playoffs, and that's great for us. But I almost don't believe that they're just going to be that clumsy with the ball consistently in a playoff series. This is a team that's won, how many games have they won? 55, 56? They went 56-26. Yeah. So it's unreasonable to expect that they're just going to show up and like, act like this klutzy basketball team over a 7-game series. It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just, it's a lesson learned, like I said, to not underestimate any opponent going into a series. I think the Suns do have some advantages. Like, I'll mention it again. I just don't really see how Karl Anthony Towns could be effective defensively for an entire series. I think he's going to get into foul trouble pretty regularly because he can't stay in front of Kevin Durant. And if they try to hide him on any of the Suns' other guys, which are going to be essentially Royce O'Neal or Grayson Allen, which they tried to do in this game.
Yeah.
Then they're just going to run them around screens over and over again.
They're all
as many
shooters.
Positions as possible to be out of position. Yeah.
They're all shooters, and they're all guys who are comfortable screening off ball, screening in the Suns' Spain actions, screening in actions that are just going to, ghosting screens, just doing all sorts of stuff that's going to force Cat to run around. So,
and as a counter to that,
good.
of course, the Suns, if they go small and they put Karl Anthony Towns at center or something, and they try to force the Suns to guard 5 out, well, then we just don't play a center. Like the Suns have a counter to that too, which is just a nice place for the Suns to be. It doesn't feel like a 5-out team like, say, the OKC Thunder, which of course the Suns may not play Nurkic at all against a team like the OKC Thunder if they matched up against them in the playoffs.
Yeah,
you can't play Nurkic in this because Gobert's going to be in there, and then if they take Gobert out, they go 5 out. Then you can just play KD at center.
Frank Vogel has to be, because we know Frank Vogel a little bit about him as a coach. He likes his traditional bigs. He likes, his rim running, rim protecting bigs, where he's willing to go 5 out sometimes, but we have to yell at him a lot before he does it. He has to be so relieved that they're playing this team and not the Thunder, because it means because I don't think the Suns. I'm not sure. And it's good that the Suns can play KD at the 5 and that they've done it a lot throughout the season, and we know that they have it in their bag of tricks. I am not sure that the Suns will have to play a single minute of small ball in this series. They could go to it if they're really trying to pick up the pace and run them out of the gym a little bit. I'm not sure they will. This is a series where Frank could totally get away with, and in fact might precisely do this, just 48 minutes of, or maybe he'll do 43 minutes of Yusuf Nurkic and Drew Eubanks in a game, and then 4 or 5 minutes of KD at the 5. And that's what you'll get used to seeing. He's going to play a lot of Yusuf Nurkic, and he's even going to play Drew Eubanks, and he'll be able to get away with it in this series, I think. As frustrating as Drew has been, this is a series where I guess he can play, and hopefully it's not entirely catastrophic. Even now, I'm knocking on wood because I hope that I am not cursing anything by saying that, but I think he's going to play minutes in this series.
Before we get too far into previewing the series and I say something dumb that is not researched yet, let's talk quickly, because this was the last game of the regular season. It's over now. The postseason starts now. The Suns get a week off. By the way, for those who don't know, the first game will be on Saturday. At least that's what we've heard earlier. I'm sure that's been announced by now for most of you. So, that'll be in Minnesota. The Suns do not have home court advantage there. So they got some time off. They got some time to plan. They got some time to look at it. But when you look back on the season as a whole, first of all, am I wrong in saying this was by far the weirdest season we've covered on this podcast, right?
I don't know. I think it rivals last season. Last season was really weird. The KD Ishbia era in general has been really weird. But you look at last season and we were like, okay, can they make another run at it? Okay, a bunch of guys are getting injured. Now Mikal Bridges is scoring 22 points per game on a team that can't win games in December. Right. Okay, now we just trade. Oh, we just trade for KD. What the fuck? Oh, we're 8-0. We're
Robert
go
Sarver's
for it.
Gone.
Robert Sarver's gone. Yeah, so I think
Kevin Durant rolls his ankle doing a uncontested layup in a pregame routine. Yeah.
I will just say, it's interesting not to get too meta, but again, we've been doing this for 6 years. There are other podcasts about single NBA teams that in the same span of time, 6 years, I think they've kind of just chilled and done their thing every year, but it's not that much has changed. There are entire franchises where in the past 6 years they're basically in the same place that they were 6 years ago.
The Clippers,
the Clippers. I think about our friends also on a Blue Wire podcast who do the Charlotte Hornets podcast. It's think about what those guys have been doing for 6 years. It's credit to them. They're just kind of chilling, doing their Charlotte Hornets thing. For us, it has been not always in a good way, but it has been hectic. We have done a lot. We have seen the depths of hell, and we have come so close to tasting the delicious fruit of heaven as well. It has been just the sheer number of possibilities that we've seen in the past 6 years has been amazing. So no, I wouldn't say that this season was any weirder than some of the other ones we've covered, to be honest. It was weird, but not uncharacteristically so.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think as far as the actual basketball season as a whole, of course the Suns have been up and down as a team, but that happens. There's a team or two like that every year. Last year there was a lot mixed in. One of the biggest midseason trades of all time. Getting rid of an owner who everyone despised and all of the baggage that came with that. Trading away, lovable players like Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. But to me, I think what's really stood out to me this season is just how unhinged the fan base has become in watching this team. And by the way, not for no reason, this team has driven a lot of regular people pretty insane on a regular basis because of the unpredictability with which we have to approach as a fan base every single game. You just never know what team's going to be there when the ball is tipped at the beginning of any game, and that'll drive you insane. And not to mention adding to that, because that can happen for young teams, of course, the expectations of this team are sky high. The team is older. There's no draft picks. So there's just this huge concoction of stuff that has impacted the fan base in a way that we're all going to need a break when the season ends, We're all going to need some time. I don't know what we're going to do on this podcast, for a few weeks, but we're all going to need a little bit of a break.
We have a draft pick this year. We'll cover the draft.
That's true.
Easy.
That's true.
Although that won't be until June. So hopefully the Suns make a very deep playoff run or go all the way to finals. And then we'll be able to go right into draft coverage, right into free agency coverage. And that way, we won't even have to think about it. We'll just be on autopilot. Yeah. We'll be like, okay, got to keep working. The worst part is
if
when
I had
you get
to ask you,
bounced early, and then you have to think and reflect and yell about things
and pretend like basketball doesn't exist while there's all kinds of playoff games on. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, that's hard.
If I just said, "What's your favorite game of this last season?" What comes to mind?
Oh God, my favorite game of this last season. The first Kings comeback, the 22-point comeback, maybe was like
the first one that pops into my mind. Yeah,
among the most bizarre things that I've seen this year.
Yeah,
the Booker game winner against Jalen Brunson, because I saw it live. Obviously, that was early in the season,
and it was an awesome moment too. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of in terms of recent.
I think the Devin Booker 50-point game against New Orleans is another one for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just the recent one, the one a few weeks ago. And
every game, can I be honest? Every game against Denver this year, well, we did lose one, right? We lost a game to Denver. Mm-hmm. But the two wins against Denver, both of which came in the last 2 months, are just really satisfying. It's like, oh, we beat Denver. Let's go. We still have a little bit of juice. That felt good. But yeah, I think that those are probably some of the highlights, right?
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think in particular the Kings game was the Durant game. Durant just completely took over in that Kings game and was awesome in order to lead that comeback. And then they went small ball 5 pre-Royce O'Neal. And then that's what ended up winning that game with some huge threes by Eric Gordon. This is all from memory. Forgive me if it's wrong. And the other one for me was, like I said, the New Orleans one. And I think you could throw in the New York one that you were at in person, which are like Devin Booker games. And I think now, and I know it just happened, the last 2 games by Bradley Beal obviously just are going to stick out a little bit because of the heightened importance. They were essentially playoff games for the Suns. And, we had other games that were memorable from Devin Booker and from Kevin Durant. And now we have some games I think that are going to be memorable for a while from Bradley Beal. So for me, those are the 3 kind of games that have stuck out in my mind. There was a stretch there where Grayson Allen was absolutely on a heater shooting wise. That was also pretty fun. And I don't know if any other role player really had any stretches that stand out in my mind when thinking back on this season without doing any research. Any of those guys stand out to you?
Not particularly a stretch. No, I mean, Royce has had good individual games. Royce in general has been good lately.
The team is just so much more fun to watch once Royce got here. Yeah, I don't know if people remember how frustrated we were with every single bench player before that. We were going insane. Everyone, us on the podcast in particular, though.
You were watching the stream that Kellen and I did the playback stream today.
Yes.
Yes. You were, but did you watch the part where we were watching a couple minutes of Jordan Goodwin and I read out Jordan Goodwin's stats to Kellen?
Yes.
Did you hear that? Mm-hmm. He is just doing the most Jordan Goodwin things imaginable in Memphis, averaging like 12 points and 12 rebounds a game as a guard, but on like the worst shooting efficiency you've ever seen. It's hilarious. Can I read you one Minnesota Timberwolves stat and then we get out of here?
Yeah, sure.
We'll leave it on one last stat. Since the All-Star break, I don't even know if these stats have updated yet on the NBA's website. Since the All-Star break, maybe updated, maybe not. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 17th in the NBA in offensive rating. Most of that without Cat.
Yeah.
And Cat is now back.
The offense was awful today, yeah.
So Cat is now back. He's been back for 2 games now officially.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What to make of it, what not to make of it, we'll see. I feel like you're starting from a place of relative comfort, though, in designing a defense that works against this team. You know, this is not the offensive juggernaut that is the Denver Nuggets that you might have had to play in the first round.
Yeah.
Just something to think about.
They've had a weird season, too, in that they were supposed to be sold, and then they weren't, and then it appears there's some weird, like, business intrigue happening between the two parties that are a part of that, and maybe Minnesota Timberwolves fans thought they were rid of an owner that they were not a huge fan of, and then getting new owners that seemed cool and interesting, and their new owner came out and said, you know, actually, I'm the cool and interesting one, willing to pay more money than them. And that's a little back and forth. Like, maybe it doesn't bother the players at all, but I know one thing, that when it was a season where all that was in the news was Robert Sarver and Matt Ishbia, I always felt like that was a distraction, whether or not the players felt like it, especially with Robert Sarver. All that came with him. So, you know, there's always that going into it, too. What a weird season to be. Look, a Timberwolves fan.
56-26 is nothing to sneeze at. That's a great regular season.
Might be their best season they've had in, ever maybe?
You have had yourselves a spooky campaign, but now, sadly, it is time for us to take that away from you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I will say, though, Timberwolves fans, the ones I've seen online, and I don't know many, but the ones I've seen online are nervous. And I think they have reason to be nervous. So let's
overall, they're a pretty cool fan base too. Normally, you know, you always say the leverage fan bases that are not threats.
But let's take this leverage we have and work it a little bit. Should be a fun series either way.
So the plan is we're going to take a few days, do some research, come back with a playoff preview. Probably, I'm thinking Thursday, Sam.
Wednesday, Thursday, something like that.
Early Thursday, hopefully, and get that one out there so you have a chance to listen to it Thursday, Friday, or Saturday before the game. And then, of course, as you know, we're back in the grind. We're going to do everything we can to record immediately after every playoff game as much as we can for as long as the Suns are in the playoffs, which is hopefully a very long time. Just in a general sense, I want to thank everyone who stuck around for this rocky, tumultuous season that has now ended with them actually being in the playoffs. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all those who have joined our Patreon this year or years in the past. We appreciate all of you. It's been a fun season overall. And I'm grateful that we got to do this again, Sam. It's been a fun podcast here.
Let's keep it going. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us. Go Suns. We're in the playoffs.
Hell yeah.
We're not even in the play-in. Look at us.
For over a century, Johnny Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereaux Golf, Johnny Walker introduces the Johnny Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, Blue Label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereaux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to JohnnyWalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly.